for the most part, I thought Vasher, you had a really good start, and then it started to crumble in the middle of the game and end game.
Yeah.
I did forget to shut off my air conditioner, so let me do that because it does get in the recording, and I don't like it. So, did you guys have any thoughts on this game? Like while you were playing it, was there anything that like made you think the game was interesting or fun or anything?
I like playing stronger opponents on uh no handicap games because I know I need to work on my fighting, but like when it's always handicap or someone at my rank, they just always want to fight, and for me it just feels too much. So for me playing this game, it was like a breath of fresh air for me. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Nice. Looking at this game, I would actually say you're pretty close to even. Let me see what the computer believes me or not. Yeah, super
Are
close to
you
even.
are you
Um,
sharing your screen?
no. All right, let me do
Okay.
that.
I
Okay.
do think, yeah, I think I was even behind at some points of the game.
Yeah, so the estimate when I was looking at this game, because this was around the time we paused, so I could review Marty's game and yours, Q.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the part of the game we paused, and I looked and I was like, oh, this game is more even than Marty's game, right? Like this game is coming out closer than what Marty was able to accomplish. And so it was very interesting at this point of the game. So for you, Vasher, looking at this point, you should want to make the most amount of points here to make a big Moyo, right? And so that's what you were trying
Mm-hmm.
to do with this move.
Mm-hmm.
But a better move, and let me show you, is this. It's a middle game Joseki. I learned it from the attack and defense book, and it is this poke peep here. Essentially, if white doesn't answer, right, if white plays somewhere else, then you can cut here. And so now these are in trouble of dying, and this is in trouble of dying, right? So this would be really good for black. So naturally, white should answer this way. But when white does, now you can play on top. It works with this connection of this stone versus this knight's move. It works really well like this. Can you see how this is building up a large moyo here?
Yeah.
In a much, it's a much more solid fashion, right? Like if we played something like this. Because if white takes this one stone, we just use it as a sacrifice. And so now you can see that black can build a very big moyo on this side. Um, so it all stems from finding a weak group. White is weak here, so you can hit that weakness. And once you help him solidify, you also get to benefit from it. This is a very
Okay.
common middle game Joseki because everybody uses two spaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a very good move to know. This shoulder hit.
Okay.
It works very well when you have a stone up here. Uh, so this one would be considered very slack in comparison, right? Because you put
Mm-hmm.
no pressure on white here, so white doesn't have to answer, right? So white can play where white wants to, which is funny enough. You actually get the move later,
Yeah.
um, but it still would have been more solid if we say we moved black stone to here. We can see you're getting like one more line of territory and you're having more of a solid connection. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But yeah, this was the point of the game where things started to change because as soon as white got this move, now
Mm-hmm.
it's the opposite, right? I'm sure white took like a large lead at this point. Still says 2.9, but when I look at this white group here, this is much more than what white had and much less
Mm-hmm.
than what black could have gotten. So this was the changing point of where the game was fairly even and it started to shift into white's favor. And then white started to take too many points and it was an easy
Yeah.
victory for white.
Yeah.
Um, so let's just start from the beginning and see how this all started. So this is fine. One of the problems this is better than kicking. I mean, falling back for sure because this is over concentrated. So this kick is fine. But usually when you have the Sanrense, the 3-star points, we usually pincer. And the reason is because if white was to run away, then we can push him into, we can make territory while pushing him around, right? He's trying to run for his life, and you're just making points on both sides. This would be very satisfying for black, right?
Yeah.
So normally when we have this strong stone here and here, we can use this squeeze to attack these stones. The other thing, and the most common move we see, is that white just jumps into the corner, because this is vaguely better than this one. But now black has the option to split or to block. Which one do you think's better here, Vasher?
B.
B, yes. Why B?
You have the stone in the middle, the start point. Yeah.
Yeah, you can make a vast amount of territory, possibly, mind you. But yeah, so once we play something like this, if Q picks an old school Joseki or a more modern one, either way, it just goes and goes and goes, right? And so black ends up taking a very strong wall, which is going to help him make points in the big moyo, points in the center and side. So normally when we have the Sanrensei, this is the most common pincer.
Okay, pincer.
Yeah, so I think this would have been better. But your move isn't terrible until you play this. This is bad. So normally when we kick, the move that we do is this jump if we want to keep pressure on white, because this stone is effectively capping white here, right? If white plays something like this, it's effectively still hurting this group. Or we play this for more defensive purposes. But this looks over concentrated to me. This is only 3 lines of an extension of territory. So this looks bad to me. So that's why originally that this was better in general. But so if you're going to start using the kick, which is generally a good move, you want to learn the follow-ups, which is this and this. I would use this more often in my opinion.
Yeah, I knew the follow-up was the knight's jump. That was the one I knew. But I was like, I have the so I was like, well, I'll just play in the middle since I have that stone. And
yeah, this is wishy-washy.
Yeah,
what happens?
That's why I played the wishy-washy.
What happens is for Q can punish with this move or this move, and you can see that you're not gonna have an easy time of trapping white here, and white can just take your full corner. And if white lives with these 2 stones, then this wall is useless, right? If white lives. So this just has major weaknesses, whereas this one is much more concise and strong. So that was probably the first and second mistake, right? This is the first, and then this would be the second.
Okay.
So far, Q, you've played very well. It's just standard stuff. It's all good. I know Q helped you through this, so this was good that you were able to accomplish it. This is a very modern Joseki. Came out in 2016 when the AI, first came out.
Thank you, by the way, for helping me with the Joseki.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to play here, and then you did that, and I'm like, I forgot it.
This is the right move. This is a beginner's trap. This is very bad for white, because when white plays this, now white has a weakness here. So if black has the ladder, and then this is gonna be devastating for white. Even if black doesn't have the ladder, and white was to finish this and I don't know, come out or something, I don't know. Even if white was to come out, you could still get a huge amount of territory over here, right? Because you have this. So then white would need to play something like this, and then you get this really beautiful squeeze. Like, look at the thickness. There's no weakness, no defects. So this would be beautiful for black. So this is a trick play. When white plays here, this is bad for white. So that's why white plays this. And now white has a weakness here and here, so white needs to fix. And then you have a weakness here, so you need to fix. And this is exactly how it went in the game. White Tanuki'd, which is fine. This is wrong. Do you know why it's wrong? I mentioned it before, but do you remember?
I'm sorry, my wife was asking me a question. Can you repeat the question?
This black move is wrong. Do you remember why it's wrong?
Why is this wrong? Oh man.
I mentioned it over here, so
It's the same reason. It's just
over concentrated.
over concentrated. Okay.
Essentially, you have all these stones on one side of the board, and white has a very three-dimensional shape. Do you see how this is much more effective than this?
Yeah.
Like, it's hugely effective. It's very, very simple too, right? Like, when it's pointed out to you, it's like, oh, that makes complete sense. Like,
Yeah.
playing on one side of the board is going to make me lose, right? And so that's exactly what's happening here. You're playing on one side of the board. It's very, very awful. So we want to try and break this mindset. So when somebody attacks us, especially when we have a stone here, we can always pincer, and this is generally a good move.
Okay.
Any pincer.
I see that now.
Yeah, any pincer would have mattered. Pincers are in this 6 shape here. So if we go further than this wouldn't be considered a pincer. But anywhere between these 6 stones, either 3 spaces apart, 2 spaces, or 1, these are all considered pincers, and they're all good because you can see what they're doing is they're essentially attacking this stone, helping you build territory on this side, and helping you build territory on this side. Because no matter what white answers, you're gonna end up making points on the other side.
Okay.
And so these pincers are much better than this move. This is very bad.
Okay.
Very, very one-sided go, which is not how we should be playing go. So this was good. This was a good checking extension. Q, this is good. So far, Q, you haven't really made any mistakes, so I got nothing much for you, but this is good. So when these stones are solid and you don't have to worry about them dying, then this is a very good invasion. So it was very good for white. For black, so I'll give you 2 options. Which option do you think is better for black in this case, Vasher?
Well, I know I blacked A, so in the game I thought A, but now looking at it, maybe B would have been better.
Now, why would B be better? I'll tell you right off the bat, A is the correct move. But
A is better. Okay.
Yeah, why would B be better? Just out of curiosity, like what your thinking is.
Well, I was thinking this way that the groups are split, but I guess the groups are positionally too strong, that they're gonna make life no matter what.
Yes, the idea is that when white is strong here, then we do not play B because it's not going to affect white, right? Like, But if we had a stone like this, then this is pretty effective because now when white goes for life, after white lives or whatever, let's say white lives like this or something. Now we can come under here and start attacking, and so this stone becomes very effective because we can fight this. But when we can't fight this, then this group usually isn't a good way to fight. So you played correctly in the game.
Okay.
I didn't know which one you played, actually. I forgot. So that I just knew that like this is a very common invasion here. And it's a very common mistake that double-digit Qs have where they don't know what to do, right? They're just lost. Okay. So this is good because you can build a lot of territory this way.
Yeah. This is where I felt it was a mistake. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is actually a Joseki, but it's a complicated one. Okay. So this is the most easiest one. It's very clear that you just get to kill this stone. but white does get to make all these Sente moves, so it kind of stinks. But it's very simple, and I usually choose this one. This one is actually Joseki.
Come here.
But you need to know how to do it, which is this move.
Yeah, that was the move I thought was the correct one, but I just couldn't figure out,
Yeah.
you know, the follow up, you know. So
Yeah. So this is incorrect, and this is correct. So let's look at why this is correct, right? Have you ever seen this? Do you understand why this move works?
I've never seen it, but I can probably understand why.
I think I've seen this before.
So the idea is that if white takes, then you get the full corner, right?
That's what I thought would be the that. So that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, I think this is what's going to happen if I do that, but I didn't know if it was good or not.
Yeah,
and then couldn't see the outcome.
Yeah, the other option for white is, and this is the wrong option, is if white plays down here. Because now, when you connect, you have 3 liberties, and this stone only has 2, right? So what's going to happen? If white attacks you, you get to kill, and then you're happy.
Okay.
If white blocks, then you play down here, and now white only has 2 liberties, so you're going to win this fight.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, that's it's kind of bringing back memories. I can't remember when I saw that, but it was a long time ago.
It's definitely more complicated than this one, right? This one's very, very simple.
Yeah.
This one is much more complicated. So maybe you should learn it so that way you can trip up your opponents. Because white shouldn't connect here. White should play somewhere else. And then you shouldn't play here right now. This is an endgame move. But most amateurs and low single-digit Q players won't know that. So they'll just waste their time here. And then you end up taking Sente.
Yeah.
So this
white shape looks very, very bulky.
Yeah, so this would be beautiful. So feel free, if you want to play simply, you can play simple. If you want to try and trick people, try this one.
So yeah, I was like, oh, I should probably just connect here, but it's like that empty triangle just felt bad.
Yeah.
I've done my best to not play empty triangles.
Yeah. So this is the move I actually use the most. Because this one you have to put a little thought into. It's very easy to make a mistake of playing here. Because this looks like suicide, right? It looks like, oh, I just lost a stone and I'm going to lose more. But in reality, you're not. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think I learned that from one of the other 1K players in MGA. He played a teaching game against me and he showed me that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to remember that. And I was like, never used it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. That's something you can both take away from this.
Yeah.
Because this is gonna happen often. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. If you
invasion. Okay.
Even if black was here, this can still happen extremely often. So keep that well in mind. All right. So we're gonna move on. This was a very good move. This is also very acceptable. So either one, whichever one you want to do.
Yeah. I chose the approach because even if I invaded and I got the corner I lived, I felt like that just gave white too much on the outside. So I was trying to take the side and break them up a little bit.
Yeah, I like this a lot. So back in the day before AI, the double wing was considered one of the best strategies in the whole entire game. If you got a start point with both sides, you're doing amazing. So this was always the anti-double wing. If somebody has a stone on one wing, then we break the other wing, so we don't have 2 wings. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, wings, essentially this is supposed to be like a bat with its wings spread out. So here's the body and the 2 wings. So your move is textbook classic, like good strategy. Nowadays the computer says, just play here anyway.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, they don't. Corner. Yeah, double wings don't matter. Give them a double wing. I don't care. So, but this used to be the class for like 100 years. This was like the strategy, right? But now, you can do either, and I think both are good.
Okay.
So for you, this is a very basic fundamental thing to understand here. So I do need to explain this in depth. Is do you know what I'm gonna say here about this two stone wall?
Yeah, three space jump
Yes.
as well as
Okay.
since there's a white stone on the other side, I'd play on the third line as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Ah, okay.
when you have
I
uh
always mess up the spacing on the jump. I don't know why I can't remember it.
yeah, it's simple to remember. The idea is if you have one stone, then you should jump two spaces.
Yeah.
If you jump three spaces, then you're very vulnerable for being attacked because it becomes very difficult for white, right? We can see that you'll be split apart and you can't connect anymore. So that's why when you have one stone, a two space jump is very, very good to make bases. Now, when you have two stone walls, now you can move further than two spaces. You can move three spaces. This is what's
Okay.
called efficiency, right? Go is all about efficiency. Every player only gets one move at a time, so every move you should do should be efficient. If it's not, then you're messing up. And so that's why this is so important to understand. When you have two stones, you can jump three spaces. Because now, if black was to come in here, you can attack very severely.
Okay.
So that's mainly it. Obviously, if you have three stone wall, then you can jump four spaces, right? And the list goes
Okay.
on and on.
Okay.
I would even go further because this is a really big wall. But anyway, it's very important to understand. It's very important because this kick's gonna happen a lot. So first, you want to break the tiger's mouth because if you were to play somewhere else and he hits you on the head, it takes all the Aji away from here. Now you can't invade in here. But when you
Yeah.
play this, now this invasion is still very good. But first, you want to make sure you're solid on the outside. So that would mean that you should play something like this.
Okay.
So three
And then
spaces.
and if it's high or low, it's usually depending on the opponent's stone. Since
That
he has a
that
low stone,
That's what I do, yeah.
Yeah, that
is that
you can argue. So a lot of it is mainly style. So
okay?
if you care about your base, then playing low is good. But if you don't care if you're undercut and you just jump up, right? If you want to break the center, if he had like
Yeah.
lots of potential to make lots of points here, right? Then I might want to play high so that I can just break this area.
Okay.
So it depends if you care more about the center or if you care about the side more. Um,
Okay.
I'm like you though. Most of the time I do use low, but it all depends on the game. Because right now, if you play low, then white can play high and start making some points in the center. Do you see that?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like if it went like this, then white can start making some influence. But if you play high, then this looks silly because you can do a lot to kind of break this up.
Okay.
So it all depends on your preference. But this is just on a fundamental level wrong. And so that's why I'm stressing it so much because it's
Okay.
so important to understand spacing when it comes to jumps.
Okay.
Uh this kick is generally bad, but it's okay. The reason is because this stone right now is kind of weak. So you can kind of just jump up, right? You can play on top and whatever you want to do, but you're not going to die, right? It's going to be very difficult
Okay.
for him to kill you here. Yes, he can undercut you, but if you make shape in the center and live, what does it matter, right? So
Mhm.
this kick might have been too good for white because white now has become very solid and you have some
Yeah.
weaknesses. So but I understand you that you wanted to keep your base.
Mhm.
And to be fair, I think I make this mistake often as well. So it's up to.
Okay.
I just want to point out that this did help white significantly.
Yeah, I see that now.
And as for Q, I mean, this has mainly been a Vasher review, but Q, everything you've played so far is good. I don't see any faults. Maybe the computer would find like a couple here and there, but for the most part, I haven't seen anything like devastatingly bad or fundamentally broken yet.
Yeah, that's good. Because I know I was making early game mistakes like with Marty in the past few weeks, but yeah, I've been trying to work on my early, I guess.
Yeah, you're doing a good job here. I haven't seen anything bad yet. This is good too, because this is severely attacking this group. For you, Vasher, this is okay. I think you could play more solidly here. This
Okay.
attachment, he can't break you apart, right? So this would be
Mm-hmm.
good. This is fine. So instead, what he can do is corral you around, but at least you're getting a good shape here. He
Okay.
has a weakness, so he should fix, and then you can come out. Or if he plays this, I would play one more, and then once you're safe, you can now cut in the like because this group's probably gonna live with no problems, and so now you can use this as strength, right? But
Okay.
this I would play with this. This is just my preference, I think. Some people might argue in the comment. Maybe somebody stronger than me would be like, "Oh, this is bad," but I
I
like
just try.
this
I just
shape.
never feel like I get a good result when I attach. So it's like I usually try to keep some space generally, unless I have strength. And right now I didn't feel like I was strong, but
Yeah,
maybe that
yeah.
just comes with more practice. I'll figure it out.
The thing about attachment is, so I have golden rules about attachment, but the idea is that if this group is already strong, then you can attach to it because it's only going to get stronger, but you're going to get stronger. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So when you're weak, you should attach to strong stones, right? Playing something like this, peeping here and like jumping out would be nice, right?
Yeah.
Um, things like this, you know. But anyway, but this one it feels a little, I don't know, just a little weird to me. I mean, I guess it's okay. This was really weird to me, too, and I can explain this one why this is weird. So, what's your goal here? You are you trying to make points this way or this way?
With which move?
Yeah, just in general. So, like, if it's White's turn right now, where do you want to make points, A or B?
I guess it just depends on which way black runs to. I didn't pick a specific side yet, I guess.
Okay, so when I look at A and B, Black is very strong here, so it's going to be very difficult to make points here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at this side, White's very strong here, so it's very easy for White to make points on this side. So, with that in mind, we can pick our moves. Your move is a Knight's cap move, right? You're capping this group with a Knight's move. But this allows
Mm-hmm.
Black to come out, right? This will actually allow Black to escape a bit. Now, mind you, this is still a good for White. You can still play something like this. Um, but for me, I think if I wanted to make points on this side, I would play the shoulder hit. Because even though
Okay.
it leads kind of to the same shape, right? You can see that White is definitely gaining points here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Whereas this move, I guess it gives Black the option to come out, right? Black can choose to break up this area more. Maybe I'd play this first and then come out with something like this.
Yeah, I screwed up definitely later because I let him slide out up, up to the upper side of that, but I think that was just I was being a little greedy, so.
Yeah, I think this is hard to capture when Black plays here. Because White is
Mm-hmm.
on the verge of getting cut apart from A and B, right? So if you play like somewhere over here, you're gonna get cut, or here you're gonna get cut. So then if you play this
Mm-hmm.
way, now you're threatening to be these get cut off, right? And so now it's starting to look really ugly, and now these stones get cut off. Or if you push on this side, then these stones get cut off. So this move is very easy to be disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And so this direction looks wrong to me. But funny enough, in the same direction, with just a little more pressure, right? This is very pressuring for Black because if Black plays here, look at the solid connection White has now. If Black plays here, this is still has a very solid connection here, right?
Yep.
So this shoulder hit would have been much more better. When you're looking to attack your opponent, you want to judge where you can make the most amount of points. And so in this case, I think B you could make more, and so this shoulder hit's very nice.
Okay.
So with this move, see, this is what I'm. I think you mentioned it too that he gets out, right? But with this move, it looks like you're trying to build points this way, but there's no points to build here, right? A is here and B is here, so there's no. Black is so close to this area, you're not going to make any points here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So instead, it should have been more important for you to play something like this, which would allow you to generally make more points this way. So let's see how that actually happens later. For black, this was a good move. We discussed in detail, like, you know, that this would be a really good move for you right now, Vasher.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very good middle game Joseki to remember, which is when there's a 2-space base, there's a very good, if you want outside influence, you can poke at the weakness of cutting this. You can threaten and say, hey, can I cut you, right?
Okay.
And if white says, yes, you can cut me, that's going to be good for you. If white says no, then you can just take the outside influence.
Okay.
Very good middle game Joseki to learn. Q, have you seen this before? Have you used it often?
Yeah, that's a more I guess a older Joseki, but I do use it once in a while.
Yeah, it's a very good middle game Joseki. It is very old. The book I learned it from was Attack and Defense, and that book's from the 70s. But yeah, very good middle game Joseki. So let's see how this goes. So you did get hit on the head of 2 stones, which is fine because you have this extra defense, so you're fine. You're strong in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the few times where I don't mind that there was a weakness. This was a very good invasion point. This is the shape point of the diagonal. I'm assuming you learned this from the kick Joseki, right? This is very the same thing. So very cool.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of what do you call those? Just problems, like puzzles.
Yeah, very, very cool. Even though black lives, you ended up being able to solidify this side and this side in Sente, meaning, you know, this wasn't just about like trying to kill your opponent. It was about taking advantage of your opponent's weakness. So, really cool, high level skill. This was the conflicting Moyos, so very good job finding this. You could have put more pressure on black first and then taken it. So that way you can see you're more solid here. But right now, if black, say, plays this, this could get cut off. So this would be very dangerous for white. So for black, you should be looking to cut this stone off. But instead you defended. Right?
Yeah.
So even if you played, this is a bad move, but even if you played this cut would have been at least attempting to cut this off. So one thing you'll find in Go is that separating your opponents is like one of the most important fundamentals in the game. And so just like how we were explaining, I think we were explaining here and all sorts all over the board, right? Even here, when you play this move to threaten to separate these group guys, divide and conquer is a good proverb. So separating your opponent should always be in your foremind, right, in the forefront. Because what's white gonna do now? White's choked, right? Like white's gonna have to play something like this. If white doesn't and plays out, then black gets this Romeo Juliet split. You've now been fully separated, and white looks like a fool, right? There's so many bad things that could happen here. I would play something like this, and then just kill all 3 of these stones. And well, I guess it doesn't work because of this, but my eye's still on the prize here. You know what I mean? Of splitting our opponents. Why doesn't this work? Did I mess up? Yeah, I played this, right? When you could just take. So black would have to play that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is starting to look better. But anyway, so yeah, I would keep. So for you, Vasher, I would always keep my eye on separating my opponent. For you, Q, I would always keep my eye on keeping good defense. Because in two cases with this move, and then it felt like with this move, you can be separated very easily in both cases, and this can be kind of painful for you. So I would definitely keep your eye out on keeping your defense up. Not allowing your opponent to cut you easily is obviously a very good strategy. But for you, Vasher, you defended way too much, and then it allowed White to just take all these points. And this is where White won the game. Remember how I was telling you that like it was still fairly even up to here, or up to here. But then once White was able to kind of bully you around, he got extra points, and so now he has a big lead here. This is, you know, what looks to me like 20 points. So we're pretty much ending the review here. Everything else was just little skirmishes. If we get to the most important points, which was around here and like this area, we can see why the game shifted. Little things in here, you already know. Like, I don't really have to tell you why this was all a mistake, right, Q? You already know you needed some defense here a long time ago.
Yeah.
So the fact Black got out here is very obvious that, you know, why he did, which was good for Black. This was actually really great for Black.
Yeah, I was happy about that because I'm like, sweet, I could take some of these points away.
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty good right here.
Yeah.
And then my right group died, and then I wasn't feeling good.
and,
Roller coaster.
and that was the last thing I saw that made me say, okay, we should stop the game here. Which was pretty much very at the end. So if you connect here, you have 1, 2, 3 liberties, and White only has 2. So you could have just.
I think I forgot there was that there. So I was saying, oh, I got 2 liberties. I can't connect. Yeah, so I needed.
Yeah. So
I misread that.
Yep. Once you take this, now he can't play here, right? And even if he plays here, he's just a move behind.
Yeah, if I would have saw the I would have kept on playing and seen how, you know, we might have got to the point where we counted the points, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, I was like, gosh dang it. But yeah, really good on Q for.
I think White's up by like 10 points, 20 points. Okay. And I like I said, once White got this area, this was the 20-point lead I was telling you about. Even with this nice reduction, I knew White was ahead, just by looking at the board. Because this is White's big area, and this is Black's big area. So these two, you could say, are fairly even. But then when I look, this is White's another big area, but Black only has a medium and a medium, so it doesn't beat out this large area. Plus White has another medium. That's kind of how I judge the board quickly without counting every single individual piece, right?
Yeah.
But that's how I look at the board. So it's like, oh, big area versus big area. These nullify. And then this is big versus 2 mediums. And then White has another medium, so White wins.
Okay.
But, yeah. So hopefully you guys took away something from these reviews. Q, for the most
definitely.
Yeah, from the most part, Q, you've definitely upped your game in your opening, because this one was really well done. The mid game was where you usually shine anyway, so you know, usually you have a good sense of attacking, and so you did a good job here of pressing down Black and then taking lots of territory. But always remember to keep your eye on your connections, because this Funky Knights move, it doesn't actually work as a good connection. You're gonna get cut, and if you get cut here, then White's in a lot of trouble, right? Even if it went like this. I think Black is still gonna have lots of things that Black can do, and White is facing a Black army, so I think White's more in trouble than Black is in this case. I could be wrong. Maybe this is weak enough where you know, it might not be able to handle it, but I don't know. For me, it looks pretty good for black. I think I'd be. It's tough. It's actually pretty tough to judge. Um, but there are lots of weaknesses, so I don't know. I'd be pretty. I don't know. It's scary for both players. But
Very
Mm.
scary.
I just look at this cut and think that it's okay, but maybe these two stones are just enough to make it not okay for these. Instead of riding the wall, maybe you should come out like this, but since this is already strong and this is strong, you might be in some trouble here. Still though,
Make the pinwheel.
still though, I have the fighting spirit in me where like I would be like, okay, I'm gonna fight and try this out, you know. I don't know, but that's just me.
Yeah, getting bonked on the head twice in that sequence just felt bad for me.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for coming to Thursdays. I hope you guys enjoy these competitions here.
Oh, it's great. Appreciate it.
I think once the MGF league is like on its last week, I'll open up like a league for you guys, and so we can like have this all look cool instead of it just being like casual Thursdays. But anyway, I enjoy it.
I enjoy it too. I